Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name's Kerrod here at the Joondalup Resort. This video, got a great one for you. We're going to be talking about a cupping of the lead wrist and how this is negatively affecting your ball striking. Let's get into it. Now, one of the most common errors that I see in players' games is a slicing of the golf ball where it will curve overtly for the right-hander too far from left to right. And effectively what that means is at the moment of impact, the club face is open relative to the direction in which you're swinging the golf club. You're essentially cutting across the golf ball and applying some fade bias to the golf ball, which causes it to curve to the right for the right-hander. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about one of the key contributors to that, in which we're talking about the lead wrist or the left wrist for the right-hander and how the orientation of that can affect the club face coming down to impact, and then how that then has a follow-on effect of causing the ball to curve in any which way. So starting off with an understanding of what generally happens with players who cut the ball too much. Now, this is not always, but it does certainly apply to a large majority of golfers. Regardless of grip style, what we'll tend to see is with players as they swing the golf club back, they will tend to have an angle forming between their lead wrist and their forearm like this. And if I move the golf club back into this position, what we notice with that club face is it will tend to open or rotate to the right for the right-hander. As I swing back, that club face will open. As I swing to the top, we can see that I still have that cup wrist. And as I swing down, we still have that cup wrist, and the club face once again is open. If I then just continue to swing towards the ball, the club face is going to be massively open and the ball's going to shoot way out to the right. So over time, subconsciously, what the brain does is it makes some compensations for this error. All of a sudden, you'll start swinging over the top, or you'll start stopping your rotation of your body and scooping at the golf ball in an attempt to get that club face squared back to the target. Now, when you do that, because of the mix of errors and compensations and inefficiencies, the consistency of your ball striking is going to go down. You're going to lose some distance and some accuracy. So as you can see, a lot stems from the error of having this cupped wrist. So we're going to be talking about a little exercise that you can do to help you flatten that lead wrist and give you some more compression, power, and accuracy behind your impact. So what do we want the lead wrist to look like? Well, if I stand face onto the camera, if you were to slow-mo any PGA Tour player, you will see that their lead wrist at the moment of impact would look almost flat. And a lot of players, it even gets to a bowed position. Now, as the golf club does this, what that would signify is that the handle, as an exaggeration from this angle, would be well in front of the head of the golf club. Now, this encourages the golf club to have a descending blow on the golf ball, and the club will squeeze the golf ball between the club face and the ground, and it will shoot off with a lot of speed. It'll feel nice off the face and tend to go a lot further than if you didn't have this impact condition. What we generally tend to see with most recreational golfers is as the golf club comes into the ball, they would have a cupping of this lead wrist. That usually has the follow-on effect of what we generally call chicken wing, separation, or where the arms fold up very close to the body on the way through. A very common issue that we see from player to player, and I'm sure maybe you've experienced it at one stage or another. So we're going to be talking about a movement that you can make with the lead wrist that's going to help flatten that out so you can get some better impact conditions. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a tee, and with your glove, what I want you to do is open it up, and you're going to have sort of a little crease on the inside here. And what we're going to do is we're going to simply put that tee on the inside of that crease and then close it up. And what you'll notice when I do that is now we have a tee poking out of the glove in this position here. So we're going to use this tee and the angle in which it's on as a reference for where the lead wrist is in its position. So if I get into the address position and I take the golf club back and my tee is pointing up to the sky, well, I know that my club face is open in this position here. That would generally mean that it's going to be open at the top, open in the downswing, and then open at impact, once again causing those ball striking issues. So what can we do to improve that? Well, we're going to get a different feeling as you take the golf club away. Now, professional golfers, they all time this movement a little bit differently. Some do it a lot later, some actually do it on the downswing. But effectively, if you're struggling with this little movement here, you want to try and get this wrist working in the correct fashion as early as possible in the backswing, so you do not have to make compensations in the downswing when everything's happening so quick, and it's just going to make it a lot easier to manage rather than rely on timing. So if we get into our address position and I was to get back to our checkpoint, which is club shaft parallel, and I look at the tee in this position here, if I had an open club face, that tee would be pointing up to the sky. If I was to have a square or even a slightly closed club face, which would be desirable, we can see that the tee is pointing more down towards the ground. As I then continue to the top of my backswing and start back down, our objective would be to see, once again, the tee pointing somewhat to the ground. As soon as I look at that tee and it's pointing up towards the sky, well, that would mean that the club face is open. So we're just going to go through some small checkpoints where we're going to swing halfway back, feel like the tee is pointing down to the ground. We can see that the club face is not vertical, it's slightly tipped down to the ground, and that angle there would almost match my spine angle. I'm then going to swing to the top, swing back down. You can see once again the club face is matching that angle and the tee's pointing down, and then swing through. Now, for those of you, this might feel like it's going to make your swing significantly shorter. And that's because when you get this lead wrist flattening or even bowing, effectively what that does is it provides a little bit more support for the golf club at the top of the swing. If I was to cup my lead wrist, that would get my wrists over hinging, that would get the club face open, once again leading to our ball striking issues. So with this tee in this glove and watching and feeling the control in the backswing, you can start to get this club face under control to the point where you're going to have far more predictability over the quality of the strike and the direction. Now, starting off, you only want to do very, very slow swings while doing this. You don't want to try and rush it through. The main reason being, you're always going to revert back to habits if you do things quickly in the first few stages of this change. So we need to make sure we're doing them consciously and slowly, setting up to the golf ball, swinging back to our checkpoint, seeing that the tee's pointing down to the ground, swinging to the top, swinging back down, tee pointing to the ground, and then follow through. The more you practice that, just even focusing on achieving that position in that first little section of the backswing, that's going to make a massive difference for you being able to do that consistently without thinking once you've done enough reps. So as you can see, the left wrist, if we get that under control, that is effectively going to square our club face at impact. It's going to give us a stronger strike. We're going to get more distance and greater accuracy. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please like and subscribe. Comment below if you've got any questions. But until next time, I'm Kerrod. Thanks for watching.